Dr. Moore was a pastor in Florida that had worked with the mission board in several countries. He specialized in training and helping mentor the new Christians. And so he had material that he had developed on that, and he came to Thailand. Well, I worked with him definitely in 3 different places. But the first one, in fact, I met him at the Southern Baptist Convention in Kansas City in the summer of '77, and he told me that he was coming to Thailand the next year, and I said, well, we'll be looking for you. I didn't know what part I'd have in it at that time, but it turns out that this fit into the leadership training that we were doing, and had a couple other missionaries on the committee with myself to plan and get this conference going. But both of them, one of them had to go on furlough and one was under the weather, so it wound up with me sort of just taking charge and doing it. And I remember I was at our leadership school up close to Cambodia the week before that, before he was due to arrive, and really feeling under the weather. Now, I had Mom had made me a nice little mattress out of foam rubber, so sleeping on the concrete floor wasn't a problem. It was where I always slept, up by the pulpit, actually. And I was thinking, Lord, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. You know, I was just feeling so tired and worn out or half sick. And I remembered the verse there in Isaiah 40 where it talks about, the Lord raise you up to fly like eagles. And I said, Lord, well, I'm just going to plan on faith that you're going to do that for me. Well, there was quite a bit involved even before that, because Wayland sent me a lot of question and answer sheets that he wanted the folks to work on during that week pertaining to that topic. And so I needed to translate all those into Thai and get them printed up. But he had sent those a while ahead, so I've been working on those. And when we got to the meeting, we met out at the hospital town. There was a vacant house, missionary house. And I don't know, a lot of people, I think, stayed with different missionaries, and some slept at the church. We had people from all over the country, but it was probably about 60 of us all together, pastors and some missionaries and church leaders. But when we got going, we met for 3 days. That morning I was all reinvigorated, and my style of in translating seemed to suit him, because he had a lot of gestures and moving around and telling stories about how the Lord got him a new pair of shoes one time. And I just tried to mimic everything he did, as I was talking. And so it was fun, really, doing it. And I managed to do that would be a morning long with some breaks in between. And then after lunch, he could go. He was staying in a missionary home. And that was when the participants were supposed to do their writing in the question, the answer sheets, And so I didn't have to do a lot, but I had to be there and answer questions if they didn't know and understand what the question was and stuff. So it was pretty well for morning, and then we had night session, about an hour and a half, that I got to translate at. And as it happened, I got through all 3 days I only had one break. One of my fellow missionaries translated one period. And that's one thing I look back at as a real miracle of how the Lord, could take over and give you extra strength. And everybody enjoyed it. We had quite a few of the folks was from our area too, so that meant a lot to them. But there were folks from West Thailand and North and South, and Okay, so after that, Wayland came back couple more. Well, he came back 3 times. One time is everything he did was in Bangkok, and this was as we were getting ready to leave. But we had another time with him in Rayong province, which is down on the Gulf of Siam. Met in a church there and had folks from that area, and I translated for his teaching, and I think he kind of preached at night, and we translated for that. And then the last time he came, he was going down south, and his wife came with him. She was a medical doctor, which was very fortuitous for me because we went down on the train, which was an overnight trip to Songkhla, stayed with the Mostellers down there, but I had been sick just before that, and I had a bad case of diarrhea, upset stomach on the train, and the trains, well, they had restrooms, such as they were, but word got to her. I guess I told him, maybe they heard me up walking around. And so she had some medicine that really took care of that, and it was all cleared up by the time we got to Songkhla. So I was able to go ahead and, and do my thing with him. So that translating was probably pretty similar to what we had done before. And I think it was that trip that he did speak at our mission meeting too, long about that time. And his material was very good, and we kept in touch for a good many years. I think he must be older than me, so he's probably gone to be with the Lord by now. But that was another special treat, But before we went to Thailand, and probably all my career, I would have been pretty much a rural missionary, a small church missionary, a preacher rather, pastor. I'd done 9 years of that in Alabama before we went. And I don't know that I would ever have gotten to meet all of our Southern Baptist Convention presidents and people like Wayland Moore and people like that came out, for special training. That was just a delight.